Welcome to part 2 of putting together Tim Holtz Yuletide with the rest of the card. In part 1, we put together the wreath. Let's get started. All right, so I've got my papers out, and these are from the backdrop selection from Tim Holtz, and it's so hard to choose, but I'm choosing this very first one I found, I think. I think I like the way that one looks. Boy, it's hard to choose between the front or the back. You have to give something up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down, and I'm just kind of picturing in my mind how I want to trim it. And I'm going to trim it, let's see here. I want to trim it to, I'm going to trim it 3 3/4 by 5 with my decal trimmer. I have to decide which parts of it I want to give up. I just ordered another stack of these. I just can't get enough of these papers. They're just so awesome. And I keep every single little scrap. I'm going to go ahead and just chop off a little piece of this too, just in case I want to use it. You never know. You just never know. Doing these kind of cards is kind of like doing a junk journal, only just on a card. So I just go ahead and take my walnut stain ink and grunge up the edges, of course, because we cut them off and lost some of our grunge. I want all the yummy grunginess. That's easy. So I'm just going to kind of audition here where I want this bell and wreath. And I'm going to grunge up just kind of the edges of this wreath as well. Not too much because, well, I don't want to lose my yummy sparkly goodness here. Just a little bit. And I'm going to grunge up this piece, although I still don't know whether or not I'm going to use it, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. See, so I'm just thinking it's just going to be a piece that lays somewhere. And the thought process is weird through this. It's kind of like you just basically audition different things. So I'm pulling out my stash of ephemera. This is the Christmas ephemera. And usually I like to dump it on something, and my thing that I dump on is full of other stuff that I've dumped on. So I'm just going to dump it on top of here. And the reason is because that those silicone mats are so sticky, it's hard to pick things up. So I'm just kind of auditioning different little things that I think I might like on there. That's a probably. That's all you do is basically try things on. I'm trying to grab this poinsettia. Nope. Okay, yeah, we want that 25 because it's Christmas. And no. Do I want this here? Nope, nope, nope. I mean, seriously, I can't possibly instruct you how to do this. It just, I don't know. I want to say it's intuitive. It's just experimenting with different stuff and seeing what you like. Okay, I think I like the small seals. I like the 25. And notice I'm not attaching anything just yet. I'm just trying things on. Once I kind of decide what I want, then I'll start the attachment process. Let's see. Well, I like these little stamps. Those are cool. And they are perforated already, so you can take them apart. I think maybe so far so good. I don't want to go too crazy, but I want to keep my color scheme. So you notice that those two reds it's actually the same sign, only smaller. Nope, no ticket. No special delivery. Maybe that, because as I said, the other one kind of mimics it. They kind of match each other. So I want to stamp something down on here. And in fact, I think that I will go ahead and use one of these rub-on things. See, notice I cut the top of mine. I didn't notice them they came in a flat container with something much bigger. And I went to cut up that flat container and I cut right into these. So I'm just going to choose the number 5 here. And simply peel off the white part. And I've got the little popsicle stick that came with it. Usually that's lost pretty soon, but I still have it. And I'm just gonna carefully rub this on here. And that's gonna completely change the look of that little tag. That number 5 fits perfectly. So let's grunge this up. And you see my fingers from grunging little things. Plus still, after having worked on that wreath, this is just a continuance. I basically cut the video in half and produced one half and kept the other half until I was ready to edit and do the voiceover. So gonna go ahead and get this dirty too. And I like to just kind of wrinkle it up a little bit and then straighten it out and rub some dirt on there, or walnut stain, I should say. And then I'll go ahead and glue this part down right where I want it. So notice just by adding that extra walnut stain that it made it kind of mesh with the card a little bit. And maybe you want that, maybe you don't. See, go ahead and try on my wreath again. And I'll go ahead and place my number 5 where I want it. So I just take my wreath off and put it back on multiple times so that I can make sure that you can see everything I'm trying to show here. We'll go ahead and kind of match this up. I don't mind that the middle part is a lighter color. It still looks like old paper. And so I'll go ahead and glue that one on. And I'm using the multimedia mat with the little stolen tip on it from my art glitter glue. Get my little stamp on here. So kind of collage style. Not sure where I'm going to put that yet. I know I'm going to use it. Yeah, I think I'll place it right there. Commit. All right, so I'm going to need a sentiment as well, but first I'm going to take this all over to my sewing machine. I think that's what I'm going to do now. It's been a minute since I did this. Yes, I'm going to throw some stenciling on here. So I'm going to use the Archival Rustic Wilderness and just this little waffle flower brush. I'm just going to add some green to this card with these little holly berries, and these are the mini stencils. I buy those because, well, you get all 3. And so I like them all. It's very hard for me to choose. Do I want to buy them all? Most of the time I do, but not always. Sometimes I buy the miniatures, sometimes I buy one in the set, sometimes I buy the whole set. Eventually I'll have them all, so yeah. But I like these because they're nice and small, and where I'm selecting to put this has no rhyme or reason, so just so you know. Again, for me, this is an intuitive process. It's not necessarily planned. I just kind of go with what I feel like doing and I do it. And I encourage you to do that too. Just kind of don't have a plan. Just kind of go. Just imagine things. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe how to do this. Picture, close your eye. Well, I don't want to say close your eyes, but kind of close your mind. Stop your mind from being orderly. Because when you kind of go in this sort of weird disordered way, then when you go to put it together, you can recreate the order any way you want. So I've got a craft card base here, and I'm just grunging that up too, because yeah, I want the whole thing grungy. That rustic look, like it came from the 1800s or the 1950s, or I don't know. Sometimes in my case, my house. So I have a lot of room there. I'm I'm going to move that aside, and I'm going to make a matte layer for this card. So this is just a piece of watercolor cardstock, the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to trim that down to 4 by 5 1/4 with my decal trimmer. Sorry about the sniffing. I'm telling you what, I have a sinus infection and those are no fun. But I want to show you a neat little trick here. So I'm going to grab my crooked broomstick crayon because it makes the most beautiful kind of, I don't know, bronze color. And I'm just coloring it on the edges and then rubbing it in with my finger. And it just is gorgeous. I just love these crayons. And I encourage you, if you have them, to use them. So see, I've got kind of a gold, but it's not like a bright, brilliant gold. It's an old gold, I would call it. So go ahead and clean up my hands. And then I go ahead and dirty up the edges of that too. Because why not? It's a popular thing to do, and I love the look of it. All right, so now we're coming together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue down the center, just a little portion of this, just so it stays still while I take it to my sewing machine. And I'm going to stitch all around the edges here, so I'll be right back. All right, so I've got it stitched down, and I've stitched both edges. Have I? I can't see it. Nope, I've just stitched one edge. I'm going to go ahead and trim off that excess off the one side. I like to leave the excess on the other side. Let's go ahead and audition here. Now, do I want it down lower? Nope, I want it up higher. So see, I end up covering up the part I stenciled, but that's okay. So I'm going to put a sentiment right there beneath, and I'm going to go ahead and use one of these sentiments from the Darling Christmas collection. So cute, and I love the little words. And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Sounds good to me. And what I'm looking for here is just a piece of scrap to possibly stamp that down on, or maybe a label or something, but I'm going to end up just stamping it down on a plain piece of paper and cutting it out. I didn't have a one that I was happy with the size, with the fit. So I'm going to use the lumberjack plaid, and I'm just going to stamp this down kind of towards the bottom so I don't waste a bunch of my paper. And kind of, you know, make sure that's dry. The stamping came out good. It's crooked, but that's okay because I'm going to be cutting it out. So I don't mind. So I'm going to grab my mini trimmer and just kind of measure it up using the plastic guide. Making sure that the word is within that guide so that it's even on all sides, because you noticed I did stamp it crooked. And then I'll cut off either end. And I'm just going to take a look and see how this fit goes. So something like right there. Okay. So I'll go ahead and just continue to trim this down so it's all uniform in size. And I definitely don't want it to be white. Just no. So first of all, I'll take my, and I rarely have to dip back in. I just use what's on there. And then I'm going to take my little antique linen ink cube and just pounce it on there just to kind of get it within the same color range. And I'm going to actually stitch that right to the card like a label. I'll put a little bit of glue just to hold it in place while I stitch. Still trying to decide where to put it. I don't want to cover my 25. And you've got some wiggle room with that glue. All right, I'll go ahead and stitch that down. All right, now that it's stitched down, now I'm going to stitch around the, I'm going to make another matte layer. And I'm going to make it close to 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, cutting it down again with my decal trimmer. And this is also a piece from the backdrops, I think. I don't know. Let's see when I flip it over. It might be from the worn wallpaper. I forgot. No, I think it's a backdrop. Let's see. Let's see if I actually flip it over so I can see. Of course I don't. Okay, so that's fine. I don't want to waste all that paper, so I'm going to take just one of my die cuts, and I'm going to cut out the center part of that because, yeah, that's a lot of really awesome paper that I don't want to waste. So I'll just take a little piece of mint tape and just kind of get it centered in there. And I'll go ahead and cut that out in my Vagabond too. All right, there we go. So now, oh yeah, okay, so that is the backdrops because I've got the confectionery there. Now I can use it just like that as a matte layer. And I will stitch it down. So I'm going to take a couple of these little clips because there's not a lot of space to glue, and I really don't want to get glue in my sewing machine. So I'm just going to take a couple of these little clips and hold it in place while I start to sew the side down, and then I'll sew it all the rest of the way around, very close to the last stitching, but on the second matte layer. All right, I've got that all stitched down onto the matte layer. I'm going to trim these off today, and then I will go ahead and what am I trimming now? I don't even know what I'm trimming. Ah, yes. I'm going to pop that up is what I'm going to do. So this is just some fun foam. And I'll go ahead and take the sticky backing off the fun foam. Usually when you sew, it's better to pop it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to use glue, and you'll see that I fight with my glue big time here. I don't know what happens to the glue tip, but when you're gluing it onto fun foam, it likes to clog. So here in a minute, it's going to clog. There we go. And then my whole thing's going to come off because I pressed too hard, so I'm just going to use my finger tool to spread the glue around. I'll tell you one thing, if you do it this way, it dries a lot faster too. And I don't need it all over it, just, you know, most of it. There we go. Now I've got that down onto the card base, and it is popped up a little bit. You'd be surprised with just popping things up how it can change the look. And there's our little Yuletide wreath. And I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of foam tape on the back of the bell to kind of support it. And then I'll go ahead and glue this down. And again, the fight with my glue. Forget about it. I'm just jumping in with the multimedia mat. Seriously. There we go. That's that. Just it's easy. You just have to, like Tim says, get over yourself. But the way I feel about it is just freely do things. Kind of like, I don't know, back in school when we did collages out of magazines and stuff like that, there wasn't a lot of rhyme or reason. Now I do like to take stickles and add it to the berry portions of these little hollies, just to kind of give it that red color. And for whatever reason, this red stickles goes wonderfully over the green. There we go. So I'm going to pull this in slow motion. I know it looks weird, but just so you can kind of get a close look at everything that I've done here. And that is the rest of putting that card together. I hope that you try this. Use your stuff. I know it's all really pretty and you love to hoard it, but let's use it. Use your stuff. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out and watching, and have a great day.